Welcome to Inquiring Minds. My name is Doug and I'm back with today's fountain pen review, the long-awaited new piston filler design from Penbbs, the Penbbs 495. Those of you following my channel will know that I'm a big fan of Penbbs. In my opinion, they are the best, most innovative fountain pen maker from China, and probably my favorite fountain pen brand of them all for a number of reasons. Their prices, their build quality, their wide selection of models, and their huge array of gorgeous acrylic resins, just to name a few. And you can see from one of my pen binders that I'm a big fan of Penbbs, Galaxy, and Amber. And I just added to that collection with these two, Penbbs 495s in Amber and Galaxy. If you've been watching, you probably know that I've been beseeching Jialong Su and his colleagues at Penbbs to retire what I considered the weakest link in the Penbbs product line, the Penbbs 309.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Oh gosh, that's funny. You are the weakest link. Goodbye. You know, I've never heard anyone make that joke before.
And come up with a better piston filler. And they showed they were listening when they came out with the Penbbs Year of the Tiger piston filler, which had a completely redesigned piston mechanism. I knew at that point it wouldn't be long before we'd see an entirely new model, and I'm really pleased to have it in my hands to show you right now. I want to show you the parts and features of this pen, some size comparisons and measurements, and then provide a writing sample. Plus, I want to show you how to disassemble this pen, because that's always the first thing that I want to do when I get a new Penbbs pen, take it apart. It's a compulsion, what can I say?
I don't like people touching my blue blanket. It's not important, it's a minor compulsion. I can deal with it if I want to. It's just that I've had it ever since I was a baby, and I find it very comforting.
And then I'll talk about what I like and what I don't like so much about these fountain pens. But I'll show you that disassembly video right now. So in any new Penbbs model, the first thing I want to do is take it apart. I'm going to take apart my Galaxy because inquiring minds want to know. But I have some words of caution for you. There are some places you just don't need to go. And I'll show you why. I'll take the cap off. We're going to take the section off. I'm going to take the nib unit out, gripping material, just give it a twist, and that nib unit comes out. There should be an O-ring there and an O-ring there. You don't need to disassemble this any further than this unless you want to replace that nib with something non-Penbbs. And then you need to pull that nib and feed out of there and use the feed that comes with the Penbbs with your number 6 nib. Now, at this point, you can unscrew the piston, which will bring it out of the front. And if you keep unscrewing, here comes that piston, you'll see that there's this red metal piston unit. If you have a thin 7.6 millimeter box wrench, you can go after that. But you can take this all the way off and put a crescent wrench on it if you like. But when you unscrew that and the piston comes out and you take this unit off, I've just successfully done it on this Galaxy. I'm going to try to recreate it. I'm going to open it up all the way, take the cam out, drop the piston out. I'm going to do a little bit of maintenance while I'm here. Silicone grease those threads. Silicone O-ring of the section. I'm going to put a little bit of silicone grease of the piston and just a dab on the cam smoothly. Then we're going to put the cam back in. We're in 1, 2, 3, 4 full rotations. Find the orientation inside the barrel. You can't see it probably. Line up my flatted top and bottom so it lines up with that. Try to fit it there. Down inside. As soon as it drops down inside, put the pusher, in this case a pencil, right there so that it pushes it down, and close the piston. It only closes to there. Just keep turning it there until it's tight. Put my section back on. I can put my nib back in. Again, just finger tight. There, and we're complete. And first, let's compare the new Penbbs 495 with the old piston filler, the Penbbs 309. The new 495 is considerably larger than I expected and much larger than the 309. The 309 was a good size and shape with conical finials, and it posts nicely and ends up being a medium-sized pen. The real problem with it was the piston. The design of the piston was problematic with how it would get stuck at the bottom of the barrel and cause you to unscrew the entire assembly when the piston got stuck. While I was preparing for this video, now it's going to do it again. I just took this apart and greased that piston up so it would move for this demonstration, and look at that. The piston is coming all the way out. And there. And that's freshly greased. So this was a considerable problem for the 309, because if that happened to you while you were full of ink, you'd have to take it apart, dump out the ink, and you usually had a mess. But kudos to Long and the gang at Penbbs for not only solving this issue by creating a new piston design, but also making it so that it can be maintained without having to remove the metal part of the assembly with a wrench, which I discovered during the disassembly. After some trial and error, I was able to discover their system of aligning the piston pieces without ever having to remove this metal housing that is powder-coated metallic red. I can't say I'm fond of the red color on my amber and blue pens, but I suspect they're using up their inventory of piston parts from the Year of the Tiger pen. There's that red piston right there. Perhaps we'll see this return to a silver or chrome finish in the future. I repeat, you do not ever need to remove this metal piece. The blind cap can come out easily, which in turn releases the piston and the piston rod through the front of the barrel when the section is removed. When the section's in place, the piston will push against that section and won't unscrew any further. So forget about trying to find a wrench that will disassemble this piston filler. It isn't necessary. And how they've designed this differential piston to come back together without hours of trial and error to get that blind cap to close completely is sheer genius. I don't know how it's done, I just know it works. Thank you. Now let's look at the details of this pen. Overall, it is a long pen, capped and posted. The shape is interesting, with a large flaring top finial to the cap which tapers up to the thin cap band, the traditional sword clip to a relatively straight barrel, and then a long tapering piston knob at the bottom. The overall shape is rather elegant and subtle compared to the profile of the Penbbs Year of the Tiger. Now there's an unusual pen design. But whether you like the 495's top finial flare or not, Penbbs is one Chinese pen company that isn't making knockoffs of Montblanc, Leonardo, and Twisby. From the top, we see the large, flat top chunk of acrylic that swoops down to the chrome clip ring that holds the standard Penbbs sword clip in place. And they've done some subtle improvements here as well, because the clip feels easier to operate than my other sword clip Penbbs pens. The cap tapers up to a thin chrome cap band that has a smooth bevel down to the barrel. A nice subtle design feature. The band has Penbbs on the front, model 495 on the back, and two small symbols on the shoulders that look like lotus blossoms. There is essentially no step down from the cap band to the barrel. That's very sleek. And the barrel tapers very, very slightly down to a chrome ring that separates the barrel from the piston knob, which tapers down to a flat end finial. You can just see that red metal piston housing through the amber acrylic, but it is invisible, of course, on my Galaxy acrylic. It doesn't look bad against the orange barrel, and you can hardly tell that it's actually red. But I do wonder if the other colored resins might clash with the red. Let me know if you have one with a transparent green or the Hawaii models, and whether the red looks out of place to you. The cap unscrews with 1.5 turns to reveal a tapering acrylic section that has a nice rounded flare towards the number 6 size steel Penbbs fine nib and black plastic feed. This one is the unique paw print nib you'll only find on the Amber as a Cat models. The other fine nibs look like this traditional one on the Galaxy. These standard fine nibs have a slight upturn at the tip in the Waverly style that I call mini fude. I love these fine nibs. They typically start out very dry, and a lot of people dismiss them because of that. Unusually, both of these fine nibs were nicely juicy right out of the box, so it wasn't necessary for me to apply my patented 7 strokes to inky happiness technique to make them wetter. Penbbs typically makes these nibs right drier for the Eastern market, and it's an easy process to make them wetter in just a few seconds. Just give 7 firm downstroke presses of the nib, being careful not to spring the nib, and the nib opens up nicely. The section is a nice length and girth and really comfortable, and these cap threads are smooth. Let's take a closer look at this nib. The Amber is a Cat nib has the cat's paws, Amber is a cat in script, and then the Penbbs logo. The standard fine nib is engraved with a scrollwork border, Penbbs since 2005, a script F for fine, and China. The nib and the feed are part of a nib assembly that unscrews for replacement or maintenance. The section unscrews from the top of the barrel, and there is a silicone O-ring right there to prevent leaks. Put some silicone grease on those threads and the O-ring as part of regular maintenance. The inside of the cap shows a step milled into the acrylic of the barrel that meets with the section to seal the nib from evaporation. And you can see that section touching that step right there through the Amber is a Cat semi-transparent acrylic. The cap posts not extremely deeply but securely, and notably not on that piston knob. The cap is very light and doesn't significantly back weight the pen, but it does make it fairly long. However, it is manageable in the hand posted. Unposted, the pen is plenty long enough and very comfortable in my hand for long writing sessions. And with an ink chamber capacity of 1.6 milliliters, you can write a long time with this pen. I bought these pens from the official Penbbs shop on Etsy for $31.99 US each. They are currently now $40 US. Now let's look at some size comparisons. And here is the Penbbs 495 piston filler with a Penbbs 309 piston filler, a Penbbs 456 vacuum filler, a Penbbs 489 touchdown filler, and a Penbbs 355 bulk filler. Now let's look at them posted. And here they are posted. The best poster of the group, and the best poster of all of the Penbbs models, in my opinion, is the 456 vacuum filler. The 355 doesn't really post at all, but it's significant that the 495 doesn't post on that piston, something that other pen designers have failed to consider. Now let's look at them unposted. And here they are unposted. You can see that they're all roughly the same size. Now let's look at some measurements, and I'll be back with a writing sample. And we're back with the writing portion of the review. This is Clairefontaine 90 GSM paper, and this is the Penbbs 495 piston filler in Galaxy. And it has a number 6 size steel fine nib. Let's check the wetness. As you can see, it's not as dry as many Penbbs fine nibs are right out of the box. I found this one very smooth and nicely juicy. And the ink I have in the Galaxy is Robert Oster Soda Pop Blue. I love how this ink shades from teal to a deep blue. As to line variation, well, these are stiff steel nibs, and you can't get much line variation out of them at all. Don't try. But I will show you that 7 steps to inky happiness technique, even though this nib doesn't really need it. Just press firmly so that you can see. I'm going to close up on that. You can see that the tines spread out a little bit and pull down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Now let's check the wetness. It's a bit wetter than it was, but be careful not to spring that nib. You saw the amount of pressure that I was putting on that. And the line this nib makes is 0.5 millimeters, which makes it a Western fine or a Japanese fine to medium on my Richard Binder line width chart, which you can find linked in the description. And for our quote: and for some reverse writing: much thinner, much drier, but it does do it. And some quick writing: that feed has no difficulty keeping up. Those skips are me missing the page. So what do I like and what do I not like about this fountain pen? The best thing about the Penbbs Model 495 is that it proves that Penbbs is growing, learning, and listening. I'm not egotistical enough to think that Jialong Su is listening to me. I know for a fact he doesn't speak English. But he and his team are constantly developing, changing, and innovating. Sometimes the innovations are successful and sometimes they're not, but they're always interesting, and it shows this company is dedicated to moving forward rather than resting on a single design for decades and decades. Look at this Penbbs Model 348. It's an experimental model Jialong Su put out a few years back when he experimented with the siphon tube pump filler in the manner of a Parker Vacuumatic. We never saw a production model from this, but it's proof they're always thinking of new designs, new, old, filling systems, and styles. Look at this Penbbs Year of the Tiger. You can't tell me that this is a Chinese pen company that's copying Western styles. They recognized that the 309 wasn't a good design and had issues, and they spent considerable effort coming up with an entirely new differential piston and an entirely new fountain pen design around it. They didn't even put an existing section design on the new barrel and cap. They made an entirely new, unique section for this new model. And no two Penbbs models have the same sections. Look at this. Here's a photo of 10 different models of Penbbs pens. Each one has a different shape section. They're all unique. From the top, this is the 489 piston filler, then a 309 piston filler, a 489 touchdown filler, a 355 bulk filler, a 456 vacuum filler, a 487 magnetic filler, a 308 converter, a 480 converter, a 500 spring filler, and a 323 converter. All different. And that isn't even all the models that Penbbs makes. And with all the hundreds of beautiful acrylic finishes available from Penbbs, if you don't find something here you like, well, there's just no pleasing you, is there?
Then there is no pleasing you. It's not right.
If you don't like the Penbbs number 6 size steel nibs, then just pull it and put in your own. Some models, like the 308, have cap clearance issues, so be sure to check first. But many of them will accept standard Yovo number 6 size nibs. And again, with the 495, it shows that Jialong Su has been listening and watching users, because the inside of the cap of this new model shows he designed it with a hollow at the top to give the cap lots of clearance in case people wanted to swap out their nibs. As to this model specifically, I love the ink capacity, I love the comfortable, well-balanced feel of the pen when it's unposted, and the nib in the Galaxy is like butter.
Look at those legs, they're like butter. Like two sticks of butter lashed together in a rough-hewn manner. And that cleavage, I tell you, it's like 2 tubs of beautiful whipped butter, unsalted, I might add. Look at that.
So smooth and luxurious. It doesn't post as well as my 456, but no model from Penbbs posts as well as my 456 in my opinion. So is the 495 now the best piston filler for the money out there? Well, it's pretty hard to beat the Asvine P20 at only $30 US, but the 495 can't be accused of copying Leonardo, can it? And I really do like the unique look of this model's silhouette. So let me know what you think of this new model in the comments below. And there you have it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notifications whenever a new video is posted. And you can join as a member of my channel for only 99 cents a month, and I guarantee I'll answer your comments in the comment section, and you'll get cool emojis, badges, and sneak peek unboxing videos as well. And that just leaves it for me to say thank you. For watching, and that's all she wrote.
I made this.